Hello everyone and welcome to another video. We're going to be using the Lawn Fun Stinkin Cute stamp with some VersaFine ink. I'm going to be stamping out the little skunk here in just a second. I had to get out my stamp cleaning pad. I stamped him out here in the VersaFine ink, and then I'm going to heat emboss him with some clear embossing powder from Simon Says Stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. It is on just some watercolor paper that I have in my stash. I had forgotten to turn my gun on, so of course it took a little longer to heat up. I keep my stamp there on the ink pad because with VersaFine, if it dries on there, it stains. I've noticed that it stains, so I like to keep all my stamps on there until I have a chance to clean them off, and I wanted to get the embossing powder heated up and melted before that didn't work. I just stamped out the hearts as well and heat emboss those, and then I'll be cleaning off both of my stamps here in a minute, and while everything cools I'm also going to be filtering back in my embossing powder. Here I'm actually cleaning off my stamps and getting everything ready. I zoomed in for you so you can see. I think he's just so cute. Now that everything's cooled down, I'm going to be taking my distress markers, my black soot, and my picket fence on my acrylic block here. Whenever working with distress markers or stamps, ink pads, excuse me, you want a slick surface to put them on, so that way, obviously, you can use them with water. And I had decided to watercolor because I sat around my room and couldn't figure out what kind of card I wanted to do. So I realized that, I hadn't done watercoloring in a while and hadn't really used my distress marker, so I thought I'd give that a shot. So here I'm just trying to come up with the nice shade of gray for the shadowing for the white parts of his body. So I mixed a little bit of black with the white and then watered that down, and that's what I was doing there at the top, testing it out. Now I'm just going to color in, and then I take a little bit even lighter to fill in the rest of the area, and there I ended up going over his eye, so I'll be fixing that later and blending it all out. And I blended out a little too much there. You can see it kind of started to peel a little bit, but that's okay. And I'm just using a paintbrush that I happen to have in my little caddy. So I'm just trying to blend all of that out, and then I take a little more of the black and some more water because my ink started to dry out a little bit sitting there under my light. So I just take the black, I water it down a little bit to get the right color. I wanted my skunk to be dark, but I didn't want him to be black. So I start out with this shade of gray, which is just watered down black, and color him all in. And then once I had colored him in, I realized I wanted him a little bit darker as it started to dry, so I did go back in and add a little bit more of just the black. You won't be seeing it. I'm adding the... Oh, I guess you will. I added a little bit of the black just off to the side just so I can get it a little bit darker. Because again, I wanted him to be black, but I didn't want him to be black. I still wanted you to see all of the embossing and the stamped areas. So I just continue to color him in. I did speed this up a little bit, so I am trying not to go too far ahead. I had to get a little more water there because sitting under my light, I'd forgotten to get a little dish, so I'm just using a water pen that I kind of let leak out onto my block there. So I go ahead and I color him in, and then I take just regular black and add it, oh nope, not yet, for a little bit of shadowing at the tip of his tail, and then kind of blend that out as well as the lighter part there. And then I take just black and add it to his feet. I then take my white my picket fence marker and go over the gray areas where it's supposed to be white, because I thought it was just a little bit too gray, and as the picket fence marker dries, it does dry white, so that does lighten everything up a little bit. I then take my spun sugar and color in his ears, as well as put a little bit of pink on his cheeks. And I thought I had a fuzz there, but it turned out to actually be on my marker, so I clear off everything, and then I realize I had forgotten to do the hearts, so I go ahead and color the hearts in with the same spun sugar. And I give that a second to dry. Well, I give it longer than a second. I picked the ones I liked best. So once everything was dry, I went ahead and cut it out with the matching dyes. I then colored in the hearts again because I thought they'd look just a little bit too light, but I didn't want to color the whole. I wanted to give them a little bit of dimension. I then redid his pink on his cheeks. And now I'm working on my card base. I do apologize. I thought I had zoomed out. This card base is... Sorry, I had to find my measurement. It is 4 3/8 by 3 1/4. And it is a side folding card. And I'm taking, while everything is I'm just kind of laying out, I go ahead and decide to work on my sentiment. And I thought it would be easier to line it up and space it here than trying to do it on my block. And this is just the sentiment that comes with it. So once I have that lined up the way I like, put it on my block. And I like to line up the vertical line with the vertical lines on my mat, so at least I know I can line it up straight on my block and then on my card base. And I'm using VersaFine for that as well. And VersaFine, you can heat emboss with it because it takes a few minutes for it to dry. So as long as you're super quick, you can stamp it and then emboss it with your favorite embossing. I'm using a coffee filter hair as a trick that Amy Rasavi from Prairie Paper and Ink does, and I have to admit it is a genius idea. I've had these coffee filters forever, and we no longer use a coffee pot. We have a Keurig, so it was kind of nice to be able to use these, and it's great. I still make a little bit of a mess, but certainly better than trying to dump it on paper, and these don't seem to be as staticky. So I'm going to go ahead and dump that all back in and bring my card back over. Again, I apologize that I didn't zoom out. I thought I had. I must be getting my scrap. Oh, I sent the card through the through my die cut machine to help kind of flatten it out a little bit. So I took this scrap of green paper and I'm actually thinning out the pink a little bit. The blue on my brush here does not come off. It is stained. I'm not sure why, but it doesn't affect anything else. But his cheeks were just a little too pink, so I wanted to soften that. But I did take that piece of green cardstock from my stash and I just hand cut out a hill because I thought it'd be cute if you just kind of sat on something, put some Tombow on the back and stuck it down. And then I trimmed off all the excess. Well, I glued where it didn't glue, and then I trimmed off all the excess. So that's what I'm doing off camera, unfortunately. I do apologize for all that. I also apologize for this voiceover. It's been a very long time since I've done one. So now that it's all trimmed up, I go ahead and I take one of the little hearts and I glue it onto his stomach. So now it looks like he's holding it. And then I'm just using my tweezers to kind of help hold that while I put some glue on the back of him. And I don't know if I showed it on camera, but I do take a gel pen and put a little black on his eyes. Right there, I was actually going to put a heart down in the bottom corner, but decided I wanted to soften the corners, so I'm going to be using my corner rounder here in a moment. But I wanted to utilize these two other hearts, so I put them on the inside, leaving plenty of room for a sentiment or a little note. But I didn't want them to go to waste. They were just so cute. So I go ahead and stick those down. And then I'm going to be taking my corner rounder, the 3/8, I believe, corner jumper, and rounding all the corners. So that's today's card. I hope you guys enjoy. Again, I do apologize for the voiceover and the super close. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next What Wednesday.